We want it at the Coliseum! Yeah! We're gonna be there! We're gonna mess them up, man! It's gonna be beautiful! Yeah! Oh, it's gonna be beautiful!
Los Angeles, California, the sports and entertainment capital of the world. It is a city made up of 9 million people and a $100 billion buying power. Enough buying power to support 7 professional teams, 2 major collegiate powers, and the entire entertainment industry. Situated in the midst of LA is the most prestigious athletic and entertainment venue in the world, the Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum. Built in 1923, the Coliseum has been a cornerstone in the history of the city and the nation. Since its inception, some 2,000 events, witnessed by 75 million fans, have happened at the Coliseum. Events like the 10th Olympiad in 1932 and the 23rd Olympiad in 1984. There was the 1959 World Series and Super Bowls 1 and 7. Everything from concerts to religious and political events.
That I accept the nomination of the Democratic Party.
And to some of college football's greatest games.
Passes on the football. It's been an Irish afternoon as he boots it high and long and deep. In the end zone, Davis coming out at the 10, 15, 20, coming outside at the 30. He's at the 35, the 40. He's going all the way at the 30, the 25, 20. They won't catch him. Touchdown, USA!
The list runs the gamut from the bizarre to the breathtaking. Every imaginable event that could play an outdoor stadium has been showcased within the walls of the Coliseum. Every event but one. Wrestling is the hottest ticket in town. This year alone, 100,000 fans in Los Angeles have supported the WWF in person, en route to 4 sold-out shows and a new per-cap novelty record. This city loves the World Wrestling Federation.
Well, I've been coming here for 6 years, and for 6 years, every month for 6 years.
Matter of fact, I'm from the hometown of the Hillbilly Gym. I'm from Mudlick, Kentucky. And I come all the way from Kentucky 2 weeks ago just to be here tonight, just to see the wrestling match live here, flying back in the morning.
Each year, the WWF puts on a show like no other. It is the only event that can satisfy the hunger of a Los Angeles wrestling fan. Wrestlemania.
Best place for Wrestlemania is right here in Los Angeles, right here. Right or wrong?
Yeah!
Wrestlemania.
Yeah!
It's gotta be in LA, gotta be.
We want Wrestlemania 6 at the Coliseum! Yeah!
I think we should have it here. I went to the last 2 back in Atlantic City. It's too far to travel. The crowd here deserves it. We support it here. We draw big crowds. You'd have a great time. The people would love it, and I think the people on the West Coast deserve it as much as the East Coast people. Should bring it here.
We want to see WrestleMania 6 at the Coliseum, here in LA, where the Lakers are, where the Raiders are, where the Dodgers are, where all the great sports are. Why not WrestleMania 6? Yeah!
LA wants to see WrestleMania at the Coliseum.
Yeah, at the Coliseum! Woo!
Born in Madison Square Garden, raised in Trump Plaza, Wrestlemania is ready to return to the West Coast, and this time to the only stadium in all of America that can hold this giant, the Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum. Imagine 92,000 fans rocking and rolling as WrestleMania begins. As one, the crowd rises, waves their souvenirs in the air, and screams at the top of their lungs for the main event. As the champion's name goes up on the 30 by 50-foot message board, he comes running from the Olympic tunnel. Hollywood spotlights reflecting off him as he tears the shirt from his back. Like a caged tiger, his opponent paces the squared circle. Like modern-day gladiators, the warriors charge each other. The two meet with the clash of thunder and the energy of lightning. The largest video screen in America catches their every move. It's all security can do to control the surging crowds. And when the dust settles, on the same field that national championships were won,
Touchdown USA!
and Olympic dreams came true, the World Wrestling Federation legacy lives on. As they file from the stadium, each fan is left with the memory of an unforgettable evening and goes home knowing he has witnessed a once-in-a-lifetime event. WrestleMania 6 at the Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum.
The fact of the matter, Trump Plaza, not this year, baby. WrestleMania 6, LA. McMahon, we got your number.
This is the Pro Wrestling Reflection Podcast with your host, the Professor Chalbelo Veracruz.
What a run!
Mr. Wonderful Tommy Wonder.
And I will take the powers of those that have no fear!
And the prodigal one, JB.
The queen, yeah. The cream of the crop.
Now it's time to go back in time in the time machine.
The American dream! Dusty Rhodes! Too sweet!
The living legend, Bruno Sammartino.
Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass. To be the man, you gotta beat the man. Woo! Look at this. He's I don't believe it.
What is going on there, Reflection Knights? What is going on there to the Beatoites, the Haminites, the PWCites, the crazy Iranianites, the crazy Israelites, the crazy Ukrainites, the crazy Russianites, the crazy MAGAites, the crazy Liberites? You know who you are. The ites all over the world. But you know what? There's sanity here at the PWR podcast, here at the Hameen Media Group at Podbean.com. There's love here at the PWR podcast at Hameen.com. There's unity here at the PWR podcast at Hameen Media. Podbean.com and all that shit. There's unity in the Professor's YouTube channel and TW. Another 2 trickled in, so we got 166 subscribers. 2 6s, not 3 6s, but 2 6s. So it's 2/3 of the devil's signs. I know TW doesn't like that shit, so we're gonna have to get that number to 7. 6 7 6 7. So let's work up to 167 and all that shit. But neither here nor there. What is going on to the Magnificent 7, the Elite 8, the Naughty 9? You know who you are. And with that being said, welcome to, and Donnie Day 1, shout outs to you. You know, I haven't done this on purpose, but I found it to be a talent because the last episodic episode, Donnie Day 1, was November of 2025, and we're recording in April of 2026. I am goddamn good. I don't know how I did it, but we're now at episode 199. So the question, Donnie, is, will we get to the elusive 200 this year, or is the Professor going to be that goddamn talented that we're not going to get to 200 until 2020? Yeah. But again, I'm not doing it on purpose, Donnie. I love you, man. I love you, brother. So, you know, I might slide into your DMs because I need you to give that speech for me. So this way we can, record it for episode 200 and all this stuff, because that will be your episode and all that shit. But neither here nor there. But this is episode 199. And we'll talk about it in a couple of seconds. But before we do that, I must introduce myself because I am vain like that. I must introduce myself so I can get the grays out of my hair and the grays out of my nose and the grays out of my ears. And TW. So I saw grays in my toes, man. But, between my toes.
That's from them dudes licking on them. They probably fell off their beard.
No, the ladies were licking on it, and then they thought it was salt. I was like, no, I don't pour salt on my. I'm a freaky foot fetish guy, but I tell you when I pour salt on my foot. But it was gray hair, and she had to pick it out.
for the record, was not from my beard.
It was never going to be his beard unless he roofied me, but that's neither here nor there. But
So
I am the charismatic one. I am the studious one, but most importantly, I am the glorious one. The only objective man in this IWC, YWC, PWC punditry. The only objective man in this Twitter X-verse. The only objective man in this political hemisphere. Your friend of mine, the Professor Chabelle Cruz. And I'm not here alone. No. I'm here with my brother from another mother, the conservative liberal conservative, the solo idiot, Dr. freaking Stein, the iron stomach one. And hopefully by this weekend, he will be celebrating and turning over cars if the Michigan Wolverines will become the NCAA champions. Because we're recording this before that game, so it's kind of like a pregame for TW. Tommy, wonder how you doing, my friend?
Doing good. And before we get kicking into our episode, very tired, by the way. So let me give you a little background on this chasing toys, right? The other day I'm sitting there and I talked to, I don't know who I talked to. Tony, I don't know if it was her, I don't know if it was Jeff Lobito. But I'm like, I'm 52 years old. There's gotta be a point where you stop buying toys, right? Do you just buy them till you die and leave them to your kids to give away or burn or sweep into the garbage can? That's the scary part. This shit's worth money and they'll not have the initiative to sell it. But
wait. Chasing toys is a name or an addiction? What are you talking about?
Addiction. Like look at all this. This is this room alone could have been a car, right? But it's years and years. And I think I'm winding down. And this figure I've been looking for, and it's hit or miss. So there's figures that you can only get at Walmart. There's figures you can only get at Target. There's figures you can only get at GameStop. There's figures you can only get on Amazon. And some of them are easy to get. Some of them are hard to get. But this particular set it's the Monday Night Wars. And these are Ultimate Editions. And they'll have WCW or they'll have WWE. And the most recent one I probably would have showed would have been the Luger, which was a WCW. There's a Brett, there's a Piper, there's an Austin, there's a Mankind, there's an Eddie Guerrero, there's a Triple H, and there's some that I didn't get. I didn't get Scott Steiner because I didn't want him. But this guy I wanted because I think this guy is very underrated. I don't think you underrate him. I just think to know that this guy started so late in the game. I mean, he started in the business sooner, but he didn't start wrestling till way late in the game.
You mean this?
To have the career he had, but to be an even better human being than he was a wrestler and all the people he's helped. I've watched this guy's videos and cried more than I can keep track of. You know who they are, the Steamboats, the Macho, or the Razor Ramones, Buck Bagwell, and of course Lex Luger. And all the other figures I have of him, that's the Stalker, and that one's in his jeans and whatever. But I finally got the quintessential DDP, where he put the NWO shirt on, but he turned on him and said, no, bang. And that was on the Nitro on January 13th, 1997. So it's a moment. But I found this because here's the other thing. California gets the toy sooner. And so you kind of get that anticipation. You know they've hit in California. Then they're hitting in St. Louis. Then they're hitting in Chicago. And you're like, yes, Michigan's coming. Then you hear they hit in Philly and New York. And yeah, Michigan's coming. And then finally did. So I found the big display that they have. And I also found a Build-A-Figure set that I wasn't going to get. Do you guys have Meijer in New York? Meijer's a grocery store that sells clothes too and electronics and toys.
Maybe upstate.
Okay. So you had to buy 4 guys to build one. One of the first figures. Otherwise, I would not own this, but I had to buy him to get a piece of the Build-A-Figure. Is your favorite wrestler, the one you steal his lines all the time. Seth Rollins in his Wrestlemania gear from whatever Wrestlemania. Then, this is possibly one of my favorite John Cena figures. They obviously couldn't write the Bears on there, but the Wrestlemania in Chicago.
No, wait, hold that up again. Wait. Did he wear that in Chicago?
Yeah. It's the Chicago Bears.
The throwbacks, the throwback years that he did.
Yeah. Okay. Where he was trying to be Urlacher, I think, was the 54.
Okay.
So I got Cena. Then we got everybody's favorite embarrassment, and he's such a good sport about it. This is actually a pretty cool figure. This figure is probably 50% of the reason why I bought the set. Well, 33, because also Cena. Stardust.
Oh. I was about to say you got Danhausen. I was like, damn, you really are a WWE homer.
Ray popped me when he said 30 years ago, the Demon debuted as the original Danhausen. That was gold. But I like the Cena. I like him. On top of the fact that I don't like Seth Rollins, that boring gray outfit. But the fourth and a half guy, who we're going to talk about in today's episode, and he comes with Damian, so it's 4.5. It's Jake. And I don't think it's from the blindfold match because he would probably have a blindfold, but Jake the Snake and Damian. And this made me able to build, if you look at his face real close, it's Mick Foley.
That's Howard Finkel.
No, it's not. You can get modern day him or Jufro him.
Oh, okay.
Who is it?
Well, that face. Well, right now that looks like Robert Stone.
It's Sam Roberts.
They made a toy for him. Jesus.
Right, but here's the thing. Exactly, that's what they do. No one was going to buy a Sam Roberts figure, but if you buy all four, you get to build Sam Roberts. One head came with Cena, one head and his torso came with Seth, the legs came with Cody, and Jake the Snake came with the arms and the microphone.
Look, let's make it clear, Reflection. That's the only ring announcer action figures that I would ever have is Howard Finkel, Gary Michael Capetta, and Lillian Garcia.
All right. Well, behind me, you can't see him. Right there is Mean Gene Okerlund build a figure. Right there is Vince McMahon build a figure. Right there is Mr. Perfect when he was the advisor or whatever for Heenan.
And he dressed like the announcer too.
Rick Rude, where you can put the head on to make it Raw or Nitro. Howard Finkel right there. Paul Ellering down there. And then over here, Adam Pearce. Right here, William Regal. Right there, Aldis. And right here is what's it? Corey Graves. Then right there's Michael Cole. And now we have Sam Roberts. And I don't have them here, so I'm not going to show you them. But I have 3 more figures, but I still need to get 1 more so I can build. And I also got John Cone and Teddy Long as referees.
Okay.
But I got 1 more referee, Charles Robinson.
One of the goats. But
so if you find an Eddie Guerrero Greatest Hits Elite figure at a Walmart in New York, I need you to buy it and ship it to me. You can even open it and throw it in an envelope with all the pieces, so it's cheaper.
No problem. I'll look for it for you. All right.
Yeah.
And with that being said, let's get on with episode 199 TW. We are 1 episode away from the elusive 200 for Donnie Day 1. So, Donnie, again, I don't know if after this 6 months from now, I'll do episode 200, or I might do next week, episode 200. So I'll keep you on your toes, Donnie. I'll keep you on your toes. But anyway, TW, we are going to go back to the time of, patriotism, if you will. And I would say 100% patriotism. And again, I picked WrestleMania 7 Reflection Nights from the Los Angeles Sports Arena in Los Angeles, California, for a couple of reasons, TW. So, we're going to merge today's issues with yesteryear's because, again, it's kind of the similarities are very strange, if you will, TW, because, in 1991 Reflection Nights, I can say with a clear conscience, and TW will agree with this, there was 99 to 100% American patriotism at the time of Desert Storm in 1991. In 2026, I'm not speaking for TW, I'm just going to say it for myself. But in the land of tribalism, in the land of social media, in the land of partisanship, it's 50-50. Whatever side of the aisle you want. And again, I'm not trying to get political, TW. I'm just saying what I see out there. So, again, we're not going with the crazy liberals. We're not going with crazy MAGA. But again, it's so splintered with everything there. But hopefully that, the regular people get, the pawns of the people get sucked into the tribalism and all that stuff. So that's the problem here. With that being said, TW, we're going to talk about that for a second. And then another similarity that just spawned the ticket sales. Both sides of WrestleMania 7 and WrestleMania 42 are eerily negative because neither of them got the ticket sale numbers that they desired, if you will. Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum Reflection Nights, that's where they wanted to go. They wanted 100,000 people. They could only get 15,000. At the time, before they switched TW, they only sold 16,000 tickets. So it was going to be an embarrassment to hold WrestleMania 7 at the Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum with 15,000 people. That's AEWA Super Clash numbers right there. That would have been a huge embarrassment.
That's AEW at Cobo Hall right there.
Again, neither here nor there.
And they got 3,000.
Let me just my diatribe, and then you will retort back. I'm just saying that right now. And right now, WrestleMania 42, again, the ticket sales are less than desirable for the profit margins of TKO. But again, that's a little bit different. It's a little bit tricky reflection. I don't want to go into the logistics, but remember, TKO and Las Vegas swindled out New Orleans. New Orleans already bid him. They paid for it, and they were going to do the Superdome again. But then for some strange reason, Las Vegas undercut New Orleans and gave tax incentives to WWE and TKO, gave them a huge chunk of money to do it again. But again, as like you would say with AEW, you can't do all in consecutively in the same stadium, because what happens? The ticket sales drop year over year. So right now, Las Vegas is less than last year's WrestleMania. So TW, let's start with the ticket sales first. So I want your humble opinion, because again, WrestleMania 7, Vince McMahon wanted 100,000. And remember, TW, in 1991, we can remember the big event. We can remember the Pontiac Silverdome. We can remember Shea Stadium, and we can remember World Class at Cowboy Stadium. There was no big elaborate staging. They just wanted to put the ring in the center of the field and put seats all around and get as much people as you can. Now in 2026 Reflection Nights, that's different. AEW and WWE loves the big Titantrons, the big stage setups, the big smoke screens, the big pomp and circumstances. So you're not going to get 100. You're not going to get the full capacity, because the staging actually takes away about 5,000 to 10,000 seats, give or take the size of the stadium. So TW,
not to mention the lighting rigs on the hard cam side.
But again, TW, technically for both sides, it's an embarrassment for WWE. Vince McMahon was embarrassed because he had the highest of highs of WrestleMania 6 at the Sky Dome with 65,000 for Hogan Warrior, but he couldn't get 100,000 for WrestleMania 7. And now in WrestleMania 42, you got two quality main events, but of course the IWC neckbeards are ruining WrestleMania 42. What say you about this? Because it's clearly
let me start out by saying no way, shape, or form do I think they would have gotten 100,000. But I've always thought the security thing was just an excuse, and they moved to save face. However, Bruce Pritchard would have absolutely no reason to lie about the security part, and he explained it in a way that I believe it, because and the Super Bowl was closer to the war, and the government didn't want to cover the Super Bowl. But at the time, WrestleMania isn't what it is now, what the Super Bowl has always been. You can't not have the Super Bowl, right? So the government caved, and they paid for the security for that Super Bowl in Tampa Bay, which is nuts, because Tampa, dude, you're right on the coast just begging. At least LA is far away from Iraq as far as if they're coming west to get us, But he said that there's no way that WWE could have afforded to do what they had to do to get cleared for security, which was building fences around the arena, having helicopters there, probably pay the government to have ships in case something did fly over, that the ships could intercept it, all that.
Or the simplistic metal detectors and stuff like that.
All that stuff. If they had to pay for it, there's no way. And I think they probably got way more than the 15,000, but they decided there's no way we're getting 100,000. And if we have to pay for all this, we're going to lose money. So let's just tap out now, go to the smaller arena where either the Lakers or the Kings played. Let's go there.
No, actually, the arena you're talking about, the Clippers played there.
Oh, I thought the Clippers and Lakers played in the same building.
No, they didn't.
Not then. So they probably just said, let's just save face and let's do this now, and just call it a day. And I'm kind of glad, because kind of like now when they do all these super shows and like the idea of putting WrestleMania in Saudi Arabia, I think it's garbage. I think, I don't even want to say an American thing because I don't mind Canada getting in. Fuck, give Mexico a WrestleMania. But you got to put it somewhere where, like, you and me, there's a chance you and me might say, hey, man, let's go to Toronto and go to WrestleMania. Let's go to Calgary and go to WrestleMania. Let's go to Mexico City and go to WrestleMania. You and me ain't going to Saudi Arabia. We're not doing it. We're probably not going to Wembley, right? But
I can do Wembley
at least. Huh?
Mm-hmm. I could do Wembley.
No, we think about it, but we're definitely not doing the Middle East, is my point. And Wembley would be the United States of Europe, where people from Ireland, people from Italy, people from Wales, people will come, France, people will come to Great Britain to watch a WrestleMania. Those same people are not going to Saudi Arabia. Even if we were allowed, I bet you we're not even allowed to go there. So they're taking something away from actual wrestling fans. And I think you and me both remember the first, what's the thing called? The Saudi one? Crown Jewel.
Yeah, Crown Jewel.
We remember that first Crown Jewel. At least they've improved this, where the whole front was tables with all these sheiks sitting at it, and all the women and children were way back. The people that actually cared to watch wrestling, you couldn't see on camera. And all the sheiks had their backs to the ring. They're all mingling and talking. Nobody gave a shit that they were at a WWE wrestling event. That, to me, that's terrible. And so this ain't getting 100,000. They moved to the 15,000. But I also think one of the reasons why the ticket sales weren't what they were is a combination of two things. Too high a price, which I think is part of Vegas's problem. And two, the threat of national security. I don't think people felt comfortable sitting in an open arena in a war year where the Middle East is the one that wants to kill us all, because they've already proven they'll kill us anywhere, including taking over airplanes to crash them with people to kill as many as possible, right? Now, as far as Vegas, I have an issue with Vegas. Last year at this time, the same people were saying the same things about they're not going to be sold out. They're not going to be sold out. Yet when the day came in 2 days, when WrestleMania went on, both days the arena was full. I don't give a shit how it got filled. If they gave tickets away, they lowered the price. I don't care. They filled the arena for 2 days. And if it was such a disaster, like everyone said last year, there ain't no way they went back this year when they were supposed to go somewhere else. So there was some success.
But like I said, Vegas,
you told me something in the beginning I didn't know about the tax incentives and all that. But what that means is a lot of people, and this is what I mean about price, a lot of people are going to Vegas to be a part of the WrestleMania weekend, but can't afford the ticket to WrestleMania. So while they're there, they're going to SmackDown, they're going to Raw, they're going to Ring of Honor if they got a show, they're going to Maple Leaf Pro if they got a show, they're going to MLW, they're going to the Hall of Fame, they're going to NXT if they do one, but they're not going to WrestleMania because they can't afford a ticket. So one of the guys I watch on YouTube, MD Toys, I just found out today when I was watching him, those WWE World events, he has to pay $100 all days. So if he goes there on Friday, it's $100. If he goes there on Saturday, it's $100. If he goes again on Sunday, it's $100. And he goes because he covers the figure release news, because they always have figures set up that they're debuting, like the Build-A-Figures, the DDP exclusive. So I think there is something to be said about what you said. They're going back to the same city and the ticket sale is less because they were already there. But I don't think it's the same people. I think it's tourists that go to WrestleMania. Obviously, I went to WrestleMania 3 and 23, which were here. But a lot of people, especially for sure the last 20, 25 WrestleManias, are out-of-town crowds.
Let me put a bow on this, because what I found out, Reflectionites, and TW, I don't know if you know this, but there's a video where Los Angeles bid for WrestleMania.
I found out today.
So it was as early as WrestleMania. Reflectionites, I actually was a little bit dumbfounded about this, because I knew eventually, like in the later years after let's say after the 2000s, cities wanted WrestleMania, so they bid for that. So that was no surprise to me. I didn't know it was as early as WrestleMania 4.
Yeah.
Donald Trump bid for WrestleMania. That's why you got it back-to-back, Reflectionites. He paid Vince
because of WrestleMania 3.
Right. So Sky don't bid for WrestleMania. and Los Angeles bid. So as early as WrestleMania 4, because again, the first one was Madison Square Garden. That's the relationship between the McMahons and Madison Square Garden. So again, they got a sweet deal on the rental. 2 WrestleMania, that was kind of like a logistical flop, TW, because they had to rent
1,000% flop.
Right. That was
the only thing worse than us watching WrestleMania 2 was being at one of those 3 cities and watching the other 2 cities.
No, but I'm saying it was a logistical flop, but they didn't bid. But WrestleMania 3 was like, oh, that put them over the top where now cities had to bid now. It was as early as Trump saying, yo, I'm paying you. I want WrestleMania. I want that WrestleMania experience.
WrestleMania 3 to be here because Buffalo held more people where the Buffalo Bills played, but it was outdoor. So they picked the Pontiac Silverdome because, WrestleMania is getting later and later. It used to be in March. If April was the
and it's
first
cold too,
weekend.
so you don't want it to be cold and
right. That's what I mean.
Raining,
but remember, they did the 2 at Giant Stadium that were outdoors, and it's like that's crazy. They did a Philly outdoor. It's like, dude, I don't want to sit there outside and freeze balls.
No, but I just wanted to say, as early as WrestleMania 4, cities were bidding for them.
And you know what's kind of cool to talk about now because it's never something that really ever crossed my mind. WrestleMania 2 was very, very ambitious and failed. Right? Like, if it wasn't for the closed circuit, and I remember watching WrestleMania 2 on Coliseum Video. I didn't watch it live. I remember, especially, I think the Bulldogs wrestled in Chicago. Was that where they were?
Yeah.
And those buildings were not full. So, like, people were like, why would I pay whatever you got to pay to go watch 4 matches there and then watch 8 on the Titantron when I could just stay home and watch all 12 on the Titan or on the TV? You know what I mean?
Or maybe they tailgated at the parking lot and then forgot to know when the Bulldog match was coming on, and they rushed.
And they didn't do them in a row. It was like a match here, a match there, a match here, maybe 2 here. But what's crazy to me is, as adventurous as that was, advantageous as that was, and it being a flop, it's crazy that he still tried WrestleMania 3.
Yeah.
Because you might not build that up.
And he upped the ante. That's why everything was a gamble with Vince McMahon. So, yeah, again, I found it intriguing that the bidding started as early as WrestleMania 4. So you can understand Vince's motivation for the 100,000. But it was a statistical flop. And I'll talk about that in the second reflection. The second thing, TW, actually, you harped on it a little bit, was to save face, they did talk about security concerns. So let's talk about that for a second, but I want to flip it to the man with the security concerns because that was more believable and more palpable than I think they just did not want to pay for the security. Right. They weren't afraid of the security concerns.
No. They couldn't afford it. They didn't want to.
They couldn't afford it. But
still not sell 100,000.
They were paying for security for one particular person.
Yes.
And that was Sergeant Slaughter.
And not just that weekend.
Yeah. This was a couple of months. This was 6 months worth of security because there was death threats and all that stuff. So, TW, what say you about a man? Again, and funny enough, TW, let's not forget, his original character was a heel, but he was an American heel. He was a badass sergeant. He called people spineless pukes, but they were weak Americans to him. You know what I mean? They didn't fit the mold for his kind of army, his U.S. Army. Then G.I. Joe and all that stuff. So he's a real American hero to a degree, Reflectionites. He goes to AWA. He's trying to keep that ship ready as best as he could. But again, they can't keep up with the Joneses of the McMahons, TW. And then Vince makes him a sweet offer to come back to WWF in 1990. But he offers him the character as the Iraqi sympathizer. So the funny thing about WrestleMania 7, TW, with all the research that I did, was not only was the ticket sales putrid with 15,000 of 100,000, but I don't think that Vince McMahon really, and the story that Vince McMahon and Pat Patterson book like after WrestleMania 6, Hogan Warrior, he's already thinking about the main event for WrestleMania 7. I don't think Vince McMahon had an idea for WrestleMania 7 main event, so he had to I hate to say this, but thank God for a war. Because he gave a character that kind of like sparked controversy, but at least it's, as Eric Bischoff says, TW, controversy creates catch. But this was a controversy that kind of like, told the lines. It kind of backfired. So what say you, TW, about that?
Wait a minute. So you telling me you don't know the original plan for WrestleMania 7?
The original plan for WrestleMania 7, there was talks about Hulk Hogan against Tugboat.
as Tugboat, Sheik Tugboat, he was going to be the one
that
would have been the worst. That would have killed WWE. It would have
right. That's what I'm saying. There was no plan.
Yeah.
For a solid main event to draw 100,000. There was a solid plan for Hogan Warrior for WrestleMania 6. This is what I'm saying. So there was a reason for 65,000 people to pay let's say $100 to get into the Sky Dome.
Right.
Vince McMahon had no idea, and I'm not gonna say I'm very surprised, but I'm very shocked. Actually, it just proves a point that the Warrior wasn't a draw. He couldn't fill LA Memorial Coliseum for 100,000 people.
That's not true.
So he had to. I'm just saying this. It speaks for itself. He couldn't depend on the Warrior to do it, so he had to go back to his Golden Goose and Hulk Hogan. So TW, what say you about Sergeant Slaughter and all that shit?
I was saving this, and I know for sure because I was there. I was around. I believe some of the backlash and some of the reasoning for slagging ticket sales were the fact, because I know how angry I was when it happened. But when the Ultimate Warrior, and this is before I'm inside and I know the ins and outs of the shit, I just know something didn't feel right about when and how the Ultimate Warrior lost the belt and what they did with him after, right? Okay. It's almost like they just took him. You know what it reminds me of? Remember the show that Jason Bateman was on, and it was called Valerie, I think? And
the Hogan family, yeah.
No. It was called Valerie. And then they fired her, and it became Hogan's family because they killed her, and then the dad was the main guy, and they just focused on the kids. That's what WWE felt like. It felt like Warrior, and then they take the belt from him, and then he's just gone, right?
Life is such a sweet insanity.
Do you know the saying, the ball don't lie?
Yeah.
The ball don't lie applies here, and this is how. Ultimate Warrior should have been the main event of WrestleMania 7. Even if it was against Macho Man for the belt versus career, whatever it had to be, right? And he wasn't. But what does everyone say the best match of WrestleMania 7 was? Not only the best match of WrestleMania 7, the best match that this guy's ever had, and top 3 best matches this guy ever had. What match is that?
Warrior and Savage.
Warrior and Savage. It had everything. It had the Warrior go 20 plus minutes, which was, imagine Goldberg doing that. It would just fucking leave, right? But Warrior could be led. Remember just being very, very like, I'm trying to think of a modern thing that's happened that made me go, oh, that's just not good. And I don't even think.
But TW, with all due respect, I think your fandom for Warrior.
No. Because I'm going to tell you why you're going to agree with me.
Okay, I'm just saying your fandom, but logistics show that Warriors house shows were a little bit.
That's not true. That's what I'm. You sent me a video. Guy says this idea the Warrior wasn't drawing has come around for the last 7-8 years. But the reality was he was up there in merch sales. He was up there in ticket sales. He was up there in buy rates. And I'm trying to look it up right now. Do you know what the #1 show of there was only the big 4, right? But then they had that this Tuesday in Texas, right? Of the 4 shows, do you know what show was the highest draw? Not drawing, because the gate is different for WrestleMania.
You mean the highest buy-rated pay-per-view of
Warrior? It had highest buy rate, highest attendance, highest. There was 4 categories. The #1 show was SummerSlam, which was all Warrior, and Survivor Series was #2, and the Royal Rumble, and WrestleMania, and this Tuesday in Texas. God bless it. It was the lowest of all 3 categories. But it's no coincidence that the show that, because Warrior came, it was Warrior coming back and helping Macho Man and all that in Survivor Series, which Warrior quit, I think, for that one. But that WrestleMania and that Royal Rumble, both of them, I'm telling you, it made me feel dirty. And there's a term going around, I'm just going to say half of it, fatigue. And in 1990 Wonder, you had it, I had it. Most people had it, and it didn't matter that he went away to make Suburban Commando.
The Hogan fatigue was real.
Hogan fatigue. And when you say you got the Ultimate Warrior, through with the IC title twice. You put the belt on him. He's doing his thing. And obviously it's a changing of the guard. So there's going to be some growing pains for the ups and downs of Warriors champion. But at the end of the day, you got this guy who never got a chance. They took it from him and they gave it right back to Hogan. And it happened twice. And the second time was the end of Hogan, was when they did it to Brett. So I'm telling you, there's a reason WrestleMania tanked. And it's because people did not like how they did the Warrior or shoved Hogan back down their throats without even realizing it. It's subconscious.
That could be. I'm not going to dispute that. There is partial truth to that, Reflectionites. But let's not forget the scandals. Let's not forget the sex boy scandal. The steroid scandal was creeping up with Entertainment Tonight and shit like that. So there was a myriad of things in the 90s, TW, that started let's just say the downfall. The good times were not because like we did it this year in pro wrestling of 1992. We called it the transitional year, but funny enough, 1991 was the start of the downfall. So there's a lot of things we could contribute it to. Again, I don't have the books in front of me, so I'll take your word for it, TW. Again, was Warriors title reign profitable? I don't know, but I'll take your word for it. But again, there's conflicting reports. Maybe it's the agenda of people saying that Warrior did not have it. People did not trust him. People could not, he couldn't do business the right way. Again, that's what they said, TW. So again, I'm not saying that you're wrong here, but I'm just saying you cannot deny those conflicting myths, if you will, TW. That's all I'm just saying.
No, for sure. But I'm just telling you, it's something you can't measure. But if you went back and did a survey like, hey, why are you so disinterested in WrestleMania? Mm-hmm. The Warrior, he just did dirty. And on top of it, his match wasn't even the match before Hogan's. There was 2 more or 3 more matches after the Warrior.
Their match actually went into intermission. So you went up with a high. But with that being said, TW, let's talk about the crowd, because again, for what it was worth, Reflectionites, the Los Angeles Sports Arena, the home of the LA Clippers and Donald Sterling, the racist owner at the time, and all that stuff, that crowd was jacked. That crowd went crazy for certain matches and all that stuff. We're not going to talk about every match, Reflectionites, because again, to review match by match, we might talk about all the matches, but we're not going to talk about every match. But neither here nor there. But even the celebrities had fun. We're talking about President Donald Trump. We talk about the Fonz. We talk about the Incredible Hulk. Lou Ferrigno was there. We talk about Marla Maples, Regis Philbin, Alex Trebek, and all that stuff. And again, Reflectionites, for the people that are tired of the celebrity factor, especially this year, TW, because people are pissed off about Pat McAfee. I'll say this: as far as Pat McAfee goes, I'm not defending the booking, TW, but Pat McAfee, he's a Rip Rogers guy. He respects wrestling. He was trained to respect the product. Now, maybe what they gave him was shit, but he's trying to make chicken shit into chicken salad. So I can't blame Pat McAfee.
What he has is effort, and the Red Wings should take a fucking cue. Is what
right. But I'm just saying, but again, what Pat McAfee, he was giving chicken shit and he's trying to make it into chicken salad. But again, you can't please the marktards, but neither here nor there. But the history of WWE and crossing over, it's been since WrestleMania 1. Not every WrestleMania needs a celebrity, but that's WWE's moniker. They want a celebrity somehow, some way, whether they're the ring announcer, they're the timekeeper, and now in the past couple of years, some of the celebrities are wrestling, like Logan Paul's wrestling.
Hey, Logan Paul is a wrestler. Knock it off.
He's an influencer first.
I don't care. He's a wrestler. Yeah?
I'm just saying.
Dusty Rhodes was a plumber, and then he was a wrestler.
He was the son of a plumber. Get it right. But anyway, neither here nor there. But TW,
he helped. He unclogged some toilets.
But again, the point is made. WWE's always had the celebrity factor because they always said that WrestleMania is their biggest show, and they want to have the masses watch it. So, TW, what say you about the celebrity factor?
I 100% condone WrestleMania having celebrities because it's what makes it special. It's the Whitney Houston singing the anthem for the Super Bowl is what makes the Super Bowl better now. So let me give you. I'm gonna keep it in football. It used to be the Super Bowl had all the pomp and circumstance. Now the opening game has it. Now the Thanksgiving game has it. All three of them. Now the Christmas Day game has it. And every round of the playoffs has it. It isn't special anymore. Now you just don't even care who does the anthem at the Super Bowl because someone did the anthem last week. Someone's going to do the anthem for the Pro Bowl. It's just lost its luster. That's what I hope WWE would do. Stop bringing celebrities into SummerSlam. Stop bringing them into Survivor. Stop bringing them into the Royal Rumble. Just have them at WrestleMania, and that's it. Just WrestleMania. Make it 12 matches. Do not make SummerSlam 12 matches. Do not make Survivor Series 12 matches. Just WrestleMania. And you probably don't like this. Stop making it 2 days. Make one day, make it celebrity filled, 12 matches, start at 4, end at midnight, make it a marathon.
The only 2-day event is Royal Rumble that's needed is Royal Rumble. So you have the women have the main event and then the men's Rumble.
And I'm fine with that.
Everything else can be 1 day because you don't need that. That's all I would say.
And didn't the Elimination Chamber do 2 days, or is that they did the same night?
TKO is greedy motherfuckers, so I will not be surprised within the next year or two the Elimination Chamber will be a
SummerSlam's 2 days in Indy or wherever it's going to be. Yeah, I just don't like 2 day because again, we're talking ticket sales, we're talking all this. Again, it's a business. I don't mind them trying to make money. That's what they're trying to do. So all these people that bitch and moan about it, you know what? If you don't like it, don't go. And if you don't go, then they're going to lower the prices because no one's going. But you still go and you still bitch, and that's what it costs. So either watch it at home or don't go. Or pay it and shut the fuck up and just go watch it because none of your complaining matters if you still go. And so if they don't draw for 2 days, then they're going to stop running for 2 days. But there's a flip side to it. I'm an apologist. If you do it for 2 days, yes, there's people like me or you who, if we go to Vegas, we don't want to go for 1 day. Plus, when we're planning this, we have no idea. We just have to pick a day and buy a ticket so we get one. And then we're going to find out we want Cody Roman. It's on Sunday, and we bought Saturday thinking it was going to be first night. Then you get boned, right? But you at least have the chance to scalp a ticket the next day. But if you bought Sunday, Saturday's scalp is going to be costing more than Sunday's because it's the first night, right? And people think the best stuff's going to happen. But when you do 2 nights and stuff sells out in 8 minutes sometimes, you're giving people a chance to go. Like when a rock band comes to Detroit and they play 3 nights in a row. The third night doesn't draw as good as the first 2 nights, but it still gives the people who didn't get a ticket to the first 2 that sold out a chance to go to the third one. And so I like that aspect of it, but I also don't like having to take an entire weekend to watch wrestling.
That's true. But, you know, today's fans are, today's fans, not only wrestling, but rock fans and stuff like that, TW, they're getting smarter for the Ticketmaster, for the greed of Ticketmaster, the greed of TKO. They'll find a way, and there's apps, TW, to find the lowest prices for either that same day or maybe a week before. So they're trying to save as much money as possible.
When I went to SummerSlam in Cleveland, the people that sat in my row had already bought tickets in the nosebleed. And that day of the show, they got tickets for less than they paid for the nosebleed to sit in my row that I paid a ton for because I wanted to be closer. And I just thought, man, that might be my strategy going forward, especially a 2-day event. It's just buy tickets at the last second. And if I don't go, at least I'm in town because I did go to the WrestleMania store, the Superstore and all that. I went to SmackDown. I went to a Cleveland Indians game. They will always be the Indians to me. But yeah, it's crazy. And again, some of those tickets aren't necessarily, it might just not be sold out. And then, but I'm not going to go to Vegas without a ticket to WrestleMania. If I'm going there for WrestleMania, I'm buying a WrestleMania ticket. Me and my buddy last year were going to go, but he wanted to spend $1,000 per night to sit front row. I'm like, I don't know if I want to do that.
Yeah, I don't think it's worth it with
you
that.
Keep your chair, but how you getting the shit home?
That's true. Well, FedEx it. But anyway, UPS ground. So neither here nor there. So with that being said, TW, I don't think we need to go match by match. I think we'll just go with the best memories of it and go from there.
Can I lead off?
You can lead off. I would love it.
I've been holding this toy. I didn't even realize it until I watched a review show on it. This guy right here, his claim to fame began at WrestleMania 7. And you know what it is?
The start of the streak.
The
right?
start of the streak, and this guy right here wrestled Jimmy Snuka. And you know the Mandela effect?
What's that?
I could have sworn Jimmy Snuka wore pants in that match, but he did not. He wore his regular tights and barefoot, old school Snuka style. And
No, he was not barefoot. He had the boots.
He had
the
boots.
brown boots. Yeah.
But there's later when he's almost on his last leg, he had pants. He didn't have tights. Well, they're still tights, but they're not briefs. But that was a shock to me that was the first night of the streak. And he was supposed to wrestle someone else, but they switched it and had him wrestle Snuka instead. And I think maybe Tugboat he was supposed to wrestle. And I wonder if Tugboat would have beat him.
Well, we don't know,
because that was Hogan's buddy. You know what I mean? Like the Hillbilly Jim of '91.
I think for Vince McMahon, he wanted to create the mystique of the Undertaker. Now, he was not trying to create the streak.
Right.
No one cared about the streak.
They just one day said, he's never lost there, right?
But for WrestleMania purposes, Reflection Nights, the Undertaker needed a statement victory. And the funny thing, TW, here is, again, we can merge today, and this is not a dig at AEW Reflection Nights. Again, I'm not trying to dig it, but this is a dig at AEW, WWE, NXT, MLW, MLP. TW, you've always said this because today's generation of wrestlers, unfortunately, listen to Twitter too much, listen to the IWC too much.
Ricochet, he's talking to you.
I'm not talking to Ricochet, but I'm just saying this for today's generation of wrestlers, CW, they want to get their shit in, but they don't want to do the job. I'm trying to explain myself because you started with Undertaker. Undertaker defeats Jimmy Snuka in like 3 minutes, Reflection Nights. In today's marked hard world, people would go crazy. Like, why is the Undertaker beating a legend in Jimmy Superfly Snuka, the man that jumped off the cage against Bob Backlund, the man that jumped off the cage against Don Morocco TW? He's got a 3-minute squash match against the Undertaker. But like you said in previous podcasts, this was the generation, and these were the times where you was at a certain level. You was not at the Hulk Hogan main event level, but you did your job and you got your pay and all that stuff. So TW, it's a lost art of the camaraderie of teamwork, if you will, that Jimmy Snuka said, you know what? All right. I don't think he would have, I don't think he agreed. Well, I'm not going to say he agreed. He didn't agree to it, but he understood why he had to take the 3-minute squash. So TW, explain to this generation why we need to go. I don't want to say go back to those times, but to understand your place in the card and how you can help make the show better instead of everybody having a 20-minute match 15 straight times in a row and doing the same shit 15 times in a row.
Well, here's the difference between today's wrestlers who have to be called professional wrestlers. That's another easy killer, right? Whatever. Superstar is fine with me. The difference between pretty much everyone in any capacity, not in WWE with tenure, as there's some definite WWE guys. Jimmy Snuka in 1991 cared about one thing: getting on the card. He had no delusions of grandeur. He knew his title reigns were to be in a company where Piper hadn't even won his first IC title yet, first title period yet. And I think he won tag belts with Flair. Piper had 0 championships, so Snuka's already ahead of him. But he's on the card. Piper's on injured as a fucking valet, which we'll talk about that. We have to talk about that because it's something that happens. But Snuka just wanted to get on the card, not for the prestige, but for the paycheck. And it's ironic that you would bring up Snuka because there's another guy who's probably a little younger than Snuka who also gets beat in 3 minutes later on in the card. And he's one of the greatest highly decorated champions, multiple tag titles, multiple IC reigns. Tito Santana lost in 3 minutes and gave 0 fucks because he was getting paid. And it only took him 3 minutes to make that 5-digit check. But you know who had their also first win, not just the Undertaker streak, but the first win for this guy was also at WrestleMania 7.
Which one?
This guy. When the Rockers beat Haku and Barbarian, which I completely forgot happened. And if you would have asked me, I for sure would have thought Haku and the Barbarian were beating the Rockers.
You know, it's funny you say that because you needed a heater to start off the show, and the Rockers and
go ahead.
No, and the Rockers and Haku and Barbarian were the faces of fear. Well, you want to call them Reflectionites?
They were not the faces of fear.
I know. I'm just saying, but people might remember them from the WCW days. They're the faces of fear, but they put on a clinic for the 10 to 15 minutes that they did,
Arguably
and the way they
greatest opening match in the history of WrestleMania up to that point.
And I'll say this: if I stopped watching WrestleMania, if I didn't see the main event, if I didn't see the whole card, I would have thought, okay, the way the Rockers won against a prime team and a big dudes in Haku and the Barbarian, I was like, they're the number one contenders. They're going to become future WWF tag team titles. But again, Reflection, reality hit. The Legion of Doom, the Road Warriors were in WWF at that time, so you're not going to miss up.
And there's the third one.
On that. Mm-hmm.
That's the one that the internet would be absolutely up in arms about, because the Road Warriors hit one move and sent Power and Glory packing and won in under a minute.
Literally broke up that team in a week after that match. That's the funny thing. Like I said, Reflectionites, we're just gonna merge everything together because again, why talk match by match? It's kind of stupid. But again,
and another squash that sent a guy packing. Kerry Von Erich beat Dino Bravo in 3 minutes, and Dino Bravo only did house shows after that.
No, after that match, Dino Bravo went to Canada and became a drug lord. That's the thing. So,
and a homicide victim.
Yeah, and that too. That's 2 years later. But let me go back to the Rockers and Haku and Barbarian because I like the way they won that match.
Yeah.
Because TW says this religiously. I think we might have to do a debate show between the Rock and Roll Express and the Rockers, and I'll represent the Rock and Roll Express. I'll still win the debate, but neither here nor there. But the way the Rockers won proves TW's point of how athletic, the athletic prowess they had. Marty Jannetty did the drop kick on Haku, and then Shawn Michaels did his Ricky Steamboat flying crossbody block and got
high crossbody. Come on, man, get it right.
Whatever, TW. But anyway, but I'm just giving you props and flowers, saying how the athletic prowess, the teamwork was there. Again, I'm giving you their flowers. They're a little bit by a minute smidget. They're a little bit more athletic than the Rock and Roll Express. But what say you about the Rockers? Because this was the showcase.
What?
This was the showcase of the Immortals, TW.
Yeah.
And
you don't hear the Rock and Roll Express getting announced.
But it's funny enough because again, in a couple of months' time, the Rockers will break up. But this was their best moment, and then months later, the implosion happened. So it's just funny to me seeing them at this light. So what say you about that?
And ironically, the outfits they wear in that match are the outfits that Leif Cassidy and Jannetty wear when the absolute non-existent never happened. I don't believe that, or Warrior Hogan 2 ever took place. Those are fake news. But seriously, even today, when I heard Rockers won, I'm like, what? And what's even more strange, and it goes up the card, they're the Heenan family. I don't even remember them. I remember Haku and the Heenan family. I don't remember Haku and the Barbarian and the Heenan family. And a little bit later
you
on,
forgot the trade that the Powers of Pain, Mr. Fuji traded off 2 guys to 2 managers.
Yeah, because Warlord went to Slick, right?
Right, and Warlord went to Slick.
That's what I said. Warlord went to Slick.
Yeah.
But Warlord, in his match against Bulldog, Heenan's with him.
No, Heenan's on commentary.
Ah, that's what it was. He was on commentary.
Mm-hmm.
But it's funny that the Barbarian and the Warlord get separated, which you had to, because you can't have 3 Road Warrior-like teams. But this shows also the end of Demolition. And that guy, the reason I sent you that clip is he talked about how they just threw this match together just because they had a partnership with some SNM wrestling in Japan or something. And
no, they had a partnership with Giant Baba's All Japan Pro Wrestling.
Right, but he called it something else, whatever they called it.
I think he was trying to be funny, but it was All Japan Pro Wrestling.
But when he said Tenryu sucked and Tojimoto or whatever his name can fuck all the way off, I was like, ouch. I didn't even remember this match, let alone it was Axe and Crush.
Now, this is where this is where you needed social media to protect Demolition. This was a travesty.
And they lost.
They lost in like 3 minutes.
3 minutes, yeah.
Again, the number is funny. WrestleMania TW, it's funny because WrestleMania 7, there are a couple of matches that are 3 minutes at length. Now, today's Mark Tarts cannot accept a 3-minute match because what will they do, TW? They will say that the person who lost is buried. They got no
The person that
plan.
won was buried because they only gave him 3 minutes. It's just nothing good came of it.
Who won that was buried? Who are you talking about?
No. I'm saying today's mentality is if you only gave the Young Bucks 3 minutes, they wouldn't even have enough time to get on all their super kicks. They would be, that's bullshit. I don't care if they won. They got buried. They didn't get to do 47 super kicks. They only got 38.
Now, one match that I actually enjoyed back then, but I can't enjoy now. But the only reason that I watched it and I kind of smiled was because of the audience participation. And Josh, you're gonna love
what
this.
Makes it a great match.
But again, when you're what it's 91. Again, I'm a teenager, TW. You got to respect this. I'm 14 years old. I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying the audience participation. And we're talking about the blindfold match between Jake the Snake Roberts and the model Rick Martel. Now, what I didn't catch back then and I caught years later was that the hoods, they could actually see. I wasn't paying attention for that shit. I wasn't trying to see behind the magic and shit like that. But I noticed, but then years later, you notice that Rick Martel can actually see and Jake can actually see and all that stuff. But what I loved about the match now that I could appreciate because we're doing a podcast together like this is, like you said, the audience participation. That 15,000 people are helping Jake the Snake Roberts. And it's not a 5-star Meltzer Classic reflection. I'm not saying that, but it's a 5-star audience participation rating, TW. All Jake had to do is point, and you hear no. And then when they got to Rick Martel, there are 15,000 people saying yes. And that's what I appreciate now, and I appreciated that at 14. But in my ECW days, I said that this match was the stinkers. This match was the clinker. What say you, TW, about the blind?
For me, I want to know part of it. I wanted nothing to do with it then at all. I wasn't going to enjoy it. And then when they pulled it off.
So wait, you're getting wait, hold on. You just started to say you actually agree with what I said. Years later.
You said you liked it then, but don't like it now. I'm saying I did not like it then, and I appreciate it now. But I appreciate it from the match on. I wanted nothing to do with it. If I could have skipped it, I would have. But the way they did it was so well. And if I remember correctly, they did all this slapping shit like that. They didn't do super kicks and Irish whips. Out of nowhere, Jake the Snake hit the DDT. And it was 8-10 minutes long. And they kept you on the edge of your seat the whole time. And I believe there was times when Martel pointed and the crowd would lie to him. Yeah, and he'd go the wrong way. And so it was masterfully done. And the ironic thing about it is Dave Meltzer, if he shit on it, he's always talking work rate, right? And to him, that's arm drags, super kicks, fucking Japanese arm drags, and high cross body, hurricanranas, and whatever that move AJ talks about that he doesn't do, but he did it that one night. Work rate, working is working the crowd. Nobody worked the crowd better that night than Jake the Snake and Rick Martel because they made them the 12th man, if you will. They made them the sixth man in the NBA. They made them part of the match, and I bet you more people than not left enjoying that match and feeling like they were part of something than didn't.
And the best part of the match, TW, was they were like inches from each other and they didn't touch.
Right.
And they did it right. And they like passed each other. And then when they like were butt to butt, Rick Martel was trying to hit, or Jake the Snake they hit air and all that stuff. And then
the crowd ate it up.
Yeah. But TW, I must have to ask you this question. Can today's Mark Tarz appreciate a blindfold match today?
No. And
you mean MJF and Will Ospreay cannot pull off a blindfold match? Especially for MJF, who understands
they
history.
pull it off, and the fans would eat it up because they're fucking stupid. Because he'd still do a 450. He'd still do a tope to the floor. He'd still climb a balcony and dive through 3 tables. Will Ospreay would get everything in still, even with the bandana on his face. And that's the problem. That match in 91 was done before we were let behind the curtain, even though you're already sensing that curtain exists. Now that the curtain exists, There's just stuff they can't do. And I stand by this. They cannot do a 60-minute Iron Man match. So conversely, they cannot do a blindfold match.
Okay, that's TW's opinion.
What I would do if I did a blindfold match, whether AEW, steal this idea if you want. The second you take the hottest feud, if that's Will Ospreay and who's the other guy?
MJF.
MJF and Ospreay are the hottest feud. I'm assuming MJF's the heel. They both look at each other and agree to put the bag on their head. And the second they do, his cronies come out, beat the shit out of Ospreay. He takes it off and then beats the shit out of him, and then match never happens. But then the bell rings, and then they lay him down, and he pins him, and the match that way. So basically, Ospreay put the mask on and got suckered into turning his back to all of MJF's cronies, which I don't even know if he has cronies.
No cronies right now. So yeah, I again, it's very hard to say that can a blindfold match be pulled off today, but I think MJF can because he understands the history of it and his character.
Match?
He did a bull rope. He did a dog collar match.
With
he
Punk.
did an Iron Man. Yeah.
The Iron Man was not an hour. It was either 45 minutes or 30.
No, he did Iron Man. He did an hour with Daniel Bryan. I know you.
I've never heard about it, so it must have been awesome.
It was a match of the year in the Professor's Perspective Award. So I'm just. But with that being said, TW, I will say this. For WrestleMania 7 at the time, at 14 years old, there was a match that I wanted to see that we didn't, and that I couldn't get to see, at least on TV purposes.
Okay.
I wanted to see, let's say, for SummerSlam, for argument's sake, I wanted to see the Hart Foundation and Legion of Doom for the tag team titles. So, mind you, I'm surprised, and I'm legit, Reflectionites. I'm not trying to, I'm hip to the business. I was legit shocked that the Nasty Boys became WWF Tag Team Champions.
Immediately upon arrival.
Right. That's the funny thing, because I saw the Nasty Boys in WCW. They beat the Steiner Brothers for the United States Tag Team titles. They got a rocket ship push, and then years later, we find out that Knobbs and Sags were Hogan's boys. So Hogan, took care of his boys. Again, nothing wrong with that. But, when you put two and two, they got a rocket ship in WCW, then left for more money to go, opportunity. They left for WWF and then immediately become WWF Tag Team Champions. I was shocked. I was like, what?
They beat the boys yet, or is that what became his boys?
They might have became his boys or something, but again, they got to push both sides.
But they were transition champions, and I watched something on this. Vince, and it's proven on this show, had already given up on Power and Glory, which I believe, didn't they have the belts, Power and Glory?
Nope.
They never won them, right? So he already given up on Power and Glory. He wanted Brett to switch to singles. So he was doing that. And the LOD were baby faces. So they had Nasty screw them in the Battle Royal. And then that's why they crushed Power and Glory. And then wasn't it SummerSlam that year? The Hart Foundation helped LOD beat the Nasty Boys, or was it the other way around?
No. At SummerSlam, LOD beat the Nasty Boys by themselves in 5 minutes to win the tag team title.
Which SummerSlam was it where the helmet got used? Was it Demolition?
That was Demolition against Hart Foundation.
And the Road Warriors helped them win, though, right?
Yes.
That was their debut.
That was technically a story that didn't manifest on TV.
Right, yeah.
Right. It didn't play out. That's
that's what they were saying on that thing. We should have got LOD versus Demolition instead of Demolition versus Tenryu and Hoishato, whatever the hell the other guy's name was. But yeah, it was, and so what's crazy and even more so is all these matches we're talking about. I don't even remember who Tito lost to. Who did he lose to?
The Mountie.
Tito lost to the Mountie with the Perfect and the returning Andre turned babyface. That was another screw job, boss man. There's all these matches that they just threw together with no storylines. And this is when they built it up for 3 months. They were building this up since the Royal Rumble. And now they're building up WrestleMania from Elimination Chamber, and every match has a storyline. So it's crazy that there's so many. I mean, obviously you had WrestleMania 1, Jake the Snake versus George Wells was a job match. And then Greg Valentine was in a job match with
Earthquake,
yeah. Which was I don't even remember him being a babyface, Greg Valentine. So, just a lot of matches just got thrown together, and it almost the one cool thing about WrestleMania that has always been, which apparently wasn't, was the reason for 12 matches is because everyone had to have their chance to end their feud. And yet there's so many WrestleManias with just toss-in matches that had no Shawn versus Tito.
It's funny you say that. We could go back to the 100,000 debacle. There was really only one match was built for weeks, and this was the one behind me, Warrior and Savage.
Hogan Slaughter.
But that was convenience because Hogan needed something.
Yeah.
Hogan didn't have nobody. That's what I've been trying to say, because that if Vince McMahon was going back to the Golden Goose again, and we could say again Hulk Hogan fatigue, Hogan did not have a good antagonist. They had to make an antagonist, and Sergeant Slaughter took the money. God bless him. But again, did it feel genuine that you didn't again? Iron Sheik was already past his prime, so you couldn't redo Hogan and Iron Sheik for fucking WrestleMania 7. No one would buy that shit. And then you talked about Andre for his match, his involvement with Big Boss Man and Mr. Perfect. Let's not forget, Reflectionites, Andre the Giant was let's just say a pivot contract, if you will, TW. I'm trying to explain this right. Vince McMahon fucked over Herb Abrams and the Universal Wrestling Federation because he talked to Andre the Giant to be involved with UWF. Remember, they were in Los Angeles. Herb, went to Andre, offered him a lot of money, and Andre made 2 appearances for UWF. Vince McMahon got wind of it, gave him another year contract, and let's not forget this, TW. Andre was booked to be in the Royal Rumble of 1991, but his back was just too bad. He couldn't do shit. And you saw the limited shit he did in this match against Big Boss Man, but he was supposed to be in the Royal Rumble match. So maybe, and this is my conspiratorial hat, TW, maybe they were going to try to do in the Royal Rumble, if Andre was healthy enough, maybe Hogan Andre too. This is the funny thing, TW, because
or reunite and Hogan Andre as a team.
Who knows? But this is where Vince McMahon fucked up in the let's just say in the athletics department or in the storyline department, because after 6 months, he never wants to put that match again on TV for some strange reason. Hogan Warrior happened in WrestleMania 6. You and I probably be like, oh, I can't wait for WrestleMania 7. They might do Hogan Warrior 2. He didn't want to do that. Hogan and Macho Man, WrestleMania 5, the Mega Powers exploded. They didn't explode for WrestleMania 6 or WrestleMania 7. He never wanted to do another WrestleMania match until in the 90s when it was Rock and Austin. They got 3 WrestleMania matches. Triple H and Undertaker, they got 3 WrestleMania matches. Undertaker and Shawn Michaels, they got multiple WrestleMania matches. Vince did not want to do that kind of rivalry shit. Like, let me just say this. Dusty Rhodes and Ric Flair, Reflectionites. They fought at Great American Bash 86, Crockett Cup 86, Starrcade 84, Starrcade 85 TW. So the South, as long as it's a big event and you got your rivalries, they'll pay to see your rivalries.
Yeah, Vince because McMahon what was going on in the 80s? The Lakers 76ers, the Lakers Celtics.
But I think Vince missed the boat on rivalries for the 100%. Beginning of WrestleMania's legacy.
You know what else he missed the boat on? What? Think about this behind you right there. He's perplexed I'm glad this happened because it's my second favorite match of all times. And
you want to talk about it? Go ahead, talk about it. It's all yours.
But listen to something that he could have done that would have been different, but the same. But they didn't have these yet. Could you imagine? And it would suck if it was Slaughter, if it was a 4-way. But Hogan versus Macho Man versus Warrior. All 3 of those guys in a triple threat. You protect whoever loses because the other guy, I'm still mad as fuck about Joe Hendry, of all people, losing to that dude. But Joe Hendry got done dirty by everyone else in the match, and Tony Mamaluke, whatever the hell his name is, and I told my girlfriend, I go, either Hendry's keeping it or that guy's winning it, because I think Hendry's going up to Raw or SmackDown. He's probably going to show up at WrestleMania, and that's fine, right? But I don't know why he's got to be the guy to lose unless he's leaving and Ricky Saints and Ego still have work to do down there. So, but if you had Hogan, Warrior, Macho Man as a triple threat main event, because they're still years away from doing that kind of stuff, he would have been phenomenal. And imagine if you threw Ric Flair in there in 92. Hogan Warrior, Sid, whatever. You could have
maybe a triple threat of Fatal 4 would have got 100,000 people because that was new. You didn't see that.
Because you would have got Warrior Hogan. I'm sorry, Flair Hogan in 92, Flair Hogan, Flair Savage, and Flair Warrior. 3 dream matches in one swoop from a guy coming up from down south, getting promoted, if you will.
Yeah, well, Vince dropped the boat on that. But since you wanted to talk about it, one of your favorite matches of all time and one of the top 10 matches in WrestleMania history, according to Bleacher Report or something like that, is the thing behind me, Macho Man and Ultimate Warrior. We've talked about this verbatim in multiple episodes, but TW, again, you love this match.
It's funny because the more I'm about to talk, I say it's my second favorite match of all time, but I argue if I wasn't at WrestleMania 3, this match would possibly be number one. And it might be a 1-1A scenario. I was all in. I left WrestleMania with a Ricky Steamboat poster because he was my guy. After wrestling, I didn't even care about Hogan and Andre. I left WrestleMania 3 all in on Ricky Steamboat, who I already was a fan of, but I was all in. And that match was a roller coaster. It was emotional. It was all George Steele, Elizabeth, all that. But I saw it from so far away. This match, you're legit going, wow, I don't want either one of these guys to retire. You know what I mean? I loved Macho Man. I hated that he went bad guy again, but I loved Macho Man. When he was champ, when Hogan helped him beat DiBiase, oh, man, Macho Man was my guy.
I'll say this. If this match happened in 1999 Reflection Nights, I'd have been like, and they said career ending, I'm like, somebody's going to WCW. I'm like, who's going to WCW? Yeah. This is again, 14 years. I'm not hip to the business. You're really going to let your career end for this shit? And now we know that careers don't really end anymore.
But it's so even years later, man, Warrior's coat saying it means much more than the world title. And just my thing was, I don't even know why, because I'm probably just conditioned to the wrestling business at this point without realizing it. I know Warrior's young enough that if he loses a retirement match, he's young enough that he gets to come back at some point. Whereas I think Macho Man's 100, and if he loses, this is it, right? But it's the only time in my life I was confused going in. I probably was more heavy Warrior, but during the match, it's kind of like Hogan Rock for some people. Somewhere in there, I switched. And I was cheering for Randy Savage. And as much as I didn't want Warrior to lose, I think at this deep, and Macho Man's been a part of it the whole time. Warrior came along halfway through it. Macho Man has been there since he popped Tito with the roll of coins. I saw that the first year I started. Or was that 86? That was 86. But I started watching. I started watching right after WrestleMania 1. So I was like, no. And when Macho Man hit that elbow 5 times, and Warrior kicked out, I was furious. I was absolutely angry.
That was the first legit false finish I ever saw. This match.
No. Steamboat.
Both of them had false. No.
You mean first time you saw someone kick out of a finish?
Right, a finish. This is the false finish. This is the first false finish.
And then he kicked out a Warrior splash, and eventually, didn't the Warrior do the press slam 5 times to him?
He did one, and then when Savage kicked out, then that's where he looked up to the heavens and is my powers gone?
Right.
Tell me, give me a sign and all that stuff.
This match, I remember, and I'm 17 years old. I was emotional. I was up and down. I was jumping out of my chair. I was screaming. I was probably with my 2 buddies screaming at the TV going, no. But at some point, I decided I did not want Macho Man to retire. And I think it was because subconsciously I knew he didn't have that much long. I was wrong because he went another 10 years. But I just also put Macho Man in WCW never happened either. That never happened either. But Macho Man Intercontinental reign up until the end of the Mega Powers, I absolutely cheer for Macho Man against Hogan at WrestleMania 6. Or is it 6? 5. But this match here, I didn't watch it to do the show because I wanted to watch a bunch of the whole shows, but I want to go back and watch that match and see if it does the same to me. It was just, my favorite thing about it is the Warrior takes so much shit that I love that this is universally loved for him, because nobody has a bad thing to say about this match at all. And for all the shit people say, Macho Man didn't like Warrior, Rude didn't, all these guys didn't like Warrior. There's no way Macho Man's doing 5 elbows and letting him kick out if he didn't respect the Ultimate Warrior. There's no way. Yeah. He would have said, I'll do it for someone else. I ain't doing it for him. But and it was such a good match.
But we remember, Macho Man's a perfectionist with his matches.
Yeah.
So there's a script, and you got to follow the script. So as long as Warrior follows the script of 5 elbows, 2 press slams, or whatever the case may be, as long as you follow the script, Macho Man is like, I can deal with you, brother, and all that stuff. So that's all that matters. And he got...
but if he didn't like him, he's not doing it for him, is what I'm saying.
No, I hear you.
It made the Warrior. If Warrior doesn't get in his own fucking way after this, the Warrior's to the moon after this match.
But let's not forget, Macho Man, no matter what happened, got revered and cheered in a loss because of the reunion, if you will, Reflectionites, of the lovely Miss Elizabeth, where I don't know if there was onions, or fake or was Los Angeles. So there might have been actors, porn actresses acting like they were crying for this. But again, there were people. Too. I was crying. I was a little bit emotional.
It was awesome. There's no two ways. It was awesome. Everything, even him losing, was awesome.
Him losing, but the hug made it seem like he won. He won in life.
I'm wrong.
What?
I wasn't mad when he kicked out of the 5th elbow. I was not mad about that. I was mad that he pinned him with his foot. That's why I was mad. Warrior stood on him and did this and got the 3 count. I didn't like that part. But it was a definitive stamp.
Hypothetically, let's say if it was unscripted, let's say I put my foot on you, but I didn't tell you. Would you come back at me in the locker room and be like, hey man, why you embarrass me like that?
Dude, I have this story and I've told it to you more than once.
Mm-hmm.
Manny Fernandez and Bo James.
I'm just saying for the
guy pinned me after I sandbagged Manny Fernandez. They did the demolition move. I landed right next to the ropes, thanking God that I wasn't paralyzed because I thought they were going to try to hurt me. And after 1, I felt him move, and I looked down, and he had me pinned with a finger on my chest, looking at the audience. And I looked down, and I looked at that. I go, you motherfucker. And then he did 3, and as they did 3, I put my foot on the rope. And as soon as I put my foot on the rope, because the referee was Jeff Libido, as soon as he counted 3, I sat up. I grabbed Legacy and we ran around dancing. So I absolutely no-sold their finish because he put his finger. And when I went in the locker room, that's when Johnny Swinger and Joey Legend came up to me. I think Edge was there, but I don't know if he was one of the ones that came up to me. And Swinger said, listen, man, I saw what happened out there, but whatever you do, don't leave here without shaking Manny's hand and thanking him. I go, I'll do it, but I ain't doing it right now. And I just stared at Bo James while I got dressed, never said a word to him because it would have done less for me than it would have done more for me. And I could care less about Bo James, but I wasn't going to ruin my reputation by going. However, if I'm Macho Man and Warrior does it, I'm kicking out. I'm kicking out and then shoot fighting him is what I'm doing because it's a total, unless it's part of the plan, it's a total disrespect.
I'm just going with the hypothetical. If the foot was not told, if I didn't,
depending on my place in the company, 50% chance if someone did that to me without telling me, especially if they're standing.
You'll give me the stink. You'll give me the stink eye in the locker room, like,
oh, I'll be like, what the fuck was that, man? Because you're still worried about losing your job, right?
That's true. Yeah.
But I think I would have done the same thing I did in that match. If I would have looked and felt that foot right at 3, I'd have lifted my shoulder to make it look like I got screwed instead of, I probably got fired anyway in the back because Hogan did that to Warrior. Yeah, Hogan kicked out of that splash on 3, and so people keep saying he kicked out of the finish. He didn't kick out of finish. It was 3, and then he
kicked
got
out
up.
3. Yeah, 3.5. That's what he was trying to say. So, all that stuff. So, TW, with that being said, we got one more match at least to talk about because we talk about every match.
Right.
This is a blessing, if you will, but we have to talk about the main event. And again, we've talked about Hogan fatigue. We talk about, and to me, the conspiracy is if they were trying to think that Sheik Tugboat against Hogan was going to legit be 100,000, I wasn't going to be interested. I would have turned it off after the Warrior Savage match.
And that would mean that you would have had to put the belt on Tugboat over Warrior, which would have been even worse.
Yeah, it makes no sense. But at least with the pomp and circumstance, the American flags, Willie Nelson playing singing the national anthem, all that stuff, red, white, and blue. Even Hacksaw Jim Duggan wore the garbs. He didn't wrestle that night, Reflectionites, but he had the red, white, and blue top hat and shit like that. Hogan was defending America's honor. And I want to say this, TW, again. I know I'm not trying to get political for 2026. This is not about MAGA. This is not about liberalism and shit like that. But like I said earlier, 1991, 99%, 100%, universal. Patriotism was flying high. You understood your mission statement, if you will. 2026, social media splinters everybody. You stay to your lane, the tribalism. We don't need to talk about that. But TW, it was refreshing because, like you said, with the Super Bowl and Whitney Houston and the national anthem. And again, you jokingly said the war would be over when we're doing this episode. No, the war's still going on. So, God bless the troops over there.
Oh, no, it's not a pause. If he doesn't open that straight, he's about to get it rained down on him.
Dudes with dementia, I can't trust him with what he says. He says one thing and then something else happens. But neither here nor there. But in 1991, Desert Storm happened. The war was over. Do you think Vince McMahon was a little bit pissed that the war ended too soon to get what he wanted out of this, or did he wanted more patriotism out of this?
No, I think this was a good sign that Vince was losing his Midas touch.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about it many times on here, how he had to have his Irish guy, he had to have his Italian guy, Puerto Rican guy, Chinese guy, Hawaiian guy, black guy, white guy. You had to have all this, and what worked in 1984 doesn't work in 91. And for one, it's a different fan base. The wrestling fan base is a snake shedding its skin, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not the same person as a fan from 1984 to today. Even you and I have left and come back multiple times, right? We've always kept
the evolution of our fandom.
We've always kept an eye on the product, but we were never into it like we were as kids. Even as an adult now, maybe NXT Black and Gold, I was all in, but and maybe there's something that happened to me being in the business. It's just you don't look at it the same way. You just don't. You're more of a critic than you are a fan. But Black and Gold blurred that for me for a while. I was watching it, and I was into it. And you would think that would translate to me like in AEW, but again, the problem is Tony Khan, Vince McMahon, or Shawn, or Triple H, whatever. The stuff that Tony Khan lets AEW wrestlers do would never be done in WWE, and for a reason. Just starting off with the fact that at one time there were 3 Adams and 2 Pages in AEW. Shane McMahon is the reason Shane Helms is Gregory Helms. We didn't want you to have 2 Shane. Steve Regal is William Regal because of Steve Austin, right? No matter what we already. He didn't want any 2 guys getting confused by the casual fan. If you said Steve, it meant Steve Austin. If you said William Regal, right? So now there are people like there's a guy in NXT. It has to be a rib on LA Knight, Eli Drake or whatever. Not Eli Drake, but
Eli Knight, and then they changed his name to Easy Proker or something like that. Now
that took way too long. Like because there was rumors that Knight was leaving, and then all of a sudden this dude comes around, and maybe that was part of it to make you think that LA Knight was leaving. They brought out Eli Knight, and you're like, what the fuck? But anyways, AEW. The problem is, and this is me being serious. I'm not healing on them. I went to that first Blood and Guts, and I am not lying to you when I tell you all 5 matches all did the same spots, and that's the problem. And they have agents. No, I did indie shows. We would go up. Hey, what's your finish? What's your finish? So that no 2 matches had the same finish. They don't do that there. So it's you know who's winning there. It's just so telegraphed, right? And so I would say Macho Man costing Warrior against Sergeant Slaughter. I don't think any of us thought that was going to happen. So as much as it sucked for me, it also was like, what? What? Sergeant Slaughter's the champ? That kind of stuff. You know what I mean? And so it just wrestling back then, every match. You can watch that whole show. We said it. There's 2 or 3 different matches that are 3 minutes long. They're nothing like each other. None of them were the same. Which you could think that all would just come in Road Warrior style and squash in 3 minutes.
And Hogan's match was the only match that bled. He was the only one that he bled
Crimson
in that
Mask,
match.
And that's what I think the big difference is. If you gave Vince McMahon 30 years ago that same AEW roster, I think it would be bigger because he would have them do they would all do something great instead of all of them doing something good. Like they all do it. You know what I mean? And I think, getting back to the question, I think he bet on something that would have worked in 84, working in 91. But I'm 17 years old. I'm in a high school gym. I'll never forget it. It's funny because it's never one of the things that's really talked about, but they always say, you remember where you were when Kennedy got shot. You remember where you were when the NASA space shuttle exploded. You remember where you were when 9/11 happened. And I wasn't around for Kennedy, but I do remember where I was when that space shuttle exploded. I was in 7th grade watching it on TV. I remember 9/11 happened because I was in someone's apartment and he told me, and then I watched the second plane live hit the other tower. I will never forget being in high school. I was enlisted in the Army already. I was in delayed entry. I was already telling them I'm not going before the war happened. And then when that war happened, we were at a high school volleyball or basketball game. It was January. And someone came up and whispered to somebody, and then it made it to us that we just dropped bombs on Iraq. And the entire gym was quiet. Everybody was scared and nervous. The last thing we were thinking about was Sergeant Slaughter sympathizing with Saddam Hussein. And then they put pictures of this dude with Saddam, like they were really hanging out together, and Adnan went to school with them and all this. The only guy that had it worse was Mark Hassan. That's it. Slaughter, terrible idea, but at least people thought it was real. Mark Hassan had death threats for just being Arabic character in wrestling. Who, by the way, the guy looked like $1 million and should have had a far better shake of the wrestling business than he got. And he was after Benoit, Mark Hassan.
What are you talking about?
Like Benoit had already happened before Mark Hassan came out. Because Benoit was 2000.
You mean Muhammad Hassan?
Muhammad Hassan. His name's Mark, but Muhammad Hassan.
Yeah. That happened in
He got to do this, and they banned that because of Benoit, and they let him do it, which was just, if McMahon didn't learn his lesson with Slaughter being an Arab, terrorist sympathizer, because that's what he was supposed to be, you do it again with Mark Hassan, and it didn't. That shit went away fast. Ruined that guy's career, almost his life.
It's funny you say that because, again, Slaughter Hogan here in 91, they're trying to recreate Hogan Sheik 84.
Right.
So, and again, with Slaughter being the sympathizer, you understood your mission. Boo Slaughter, cheer for America, and Hulk Hogan and all that stuff. But again, and I have agreed, Hogan fatigue was a thing.
And you know what's terrible about it on top of all that?
What?
There was another way to do it. Hogan Slaughter is potentially a dream match because Hogan took Slaughter's job when he came in and beat the Sheik. That was Slaughter's shit. And then he got into it because of the G.I. Joe. He left. Hogan comes in. What they could have done, which would have been way better, and maybe the old guard, like Ray's dad, your dad, uncles, whoever the hell I had, my step, maybe they side with Slaughter, and us young guys slide with Hogan, but you have them in a time of war claiming to be the bigger pro-USA guy.
Or the bigger patriot.
But, and I think what ruined that is they think part of the reason Warrior versus Hogan was a success at the box office, it was a success at the gate. It was not, it was down from WrestleMania 5 as far as pay-per-views, right? And they think it was because it was two baby faces. They hated, like, remember Steamboat versus Dynamite or Davey Boy in the Rolls-Royce Classic or whatever, the original King of the Ring? That was awesome. Steamboat versus Davey Boy Smith, and the match ended because Bulldog missed the drop kick and hit his balls on the ropes. Do you remember that match?
Yeah.
And then you had Dynamite Kid climbed the top rope while Volkov was singing the Russian national anthem, took the missile drop kick and beat him in probably the real record, 3 seconds. They just, people don't like to see two good guys fight each other, but they hate seeing two bad guys fight each other even more. But that's probably why they couldn't go that angle, and probably they never thought about it because he's so stuck in his ways of good guy versus bad guy. It's amazing that we ever even got Hogan Warrior.
They blew their load with Hogan Warrior in WrestleMania 6 for the Ultimate Challenge, title for title. Technically, I'm like I keep saying, what could you do to top to get to justify 100,000? They didn't have a main event except for
Hogan
behind
Warrior
my back.
2. Hogan Warrior 2.
Or Hogan Warrior 2, or make Hogan the bad guy to go after to get his revenge.
Oh, you would have fucking erased WCW from the planet.
Again, we've done that.
Done. There's nothing WCW can come back.
Yeah, so with that being said, again, Hogan and Slaughter did its thing, and the fans left happy. Like you always say, Vince McMahon wants you to leave home happy. The kids were happy, the flags were waving, he was the champion, and then for Coliseum home video, he gets burned, and they continue the feud between Hogan and Slaughter until SummerSlam. So, again, we missed out on the $1 Million Man. And
wasn't that
Virgil
Hogan
match.
Warrior versus Slaughter and Sheik?
Yeah, the match made in hell.
Oh, yeah, $1 Million Man. That was the thing. Piper came to the ring not as in Virgil's corner, but in the opponent of Ted DiBiase's corner.
Well, he was coaching Virgil, if you will.
Right.
He was
but
motivating
he's
Virgil.
Here in Virgil's corner. They said he's here in the corner of the guy who is wrestling the $1 Million Man. And dude, Virgil might as well just came out with just jobber written on his tights.
Well, again.
And won by count out.
Well, and that's the funny thing with the card, because again, the certain bad guys that won Reflection Nights, Earthquake won, it was a 3-minute squash. Mountie won, 3-minute squash. Undertaker won.
Cattle prodded him.
Well, again, but it was a 3-minute squash. Undertaker won, it was a 3-minute squash.
Nasty Boys.
LOD won, was a 1-minute squash. Well, Nasty Boys wasn't a 3-minute squash, but it was. No. I'm just talking about there was multiple
3-minute squash.
Yeah, and they lost. So it's kind of funny for WrestleMania. Again, back then, you knew your place and you knew what to do, and you got a good, hefty WrestleMania paycheck. And now today, everybody's looking at Twitter, looking for Dave Meltzer's ratings, and like, oh shit, I don't want to get on the bad side of a podcaster like TW right now, making fun of AEW. They don't want to hear TW's critiques of AEW and all that stuff. So
tell me when I'm telling lies. Somebody said that about them before.
Again, so TW closing thoughts of WrestleMania 7, and then we're going to get out of here.
I'm glad all in all. It's a very, very, very well-respected WrestleMania. It was the last to be 4 hours and 12 matches until WrestleMania 20, I believe it said. And then, which it could have been an absolute disaster. And the fact that my second favorite match came out of it, as much as we're shitting on Hogan versus Slaughter, the crowd loved it. They loved seeing Hogan walk out of there waving the flag, and they embraced them and all that. They were happy. I think it probably goes over better if the war was still going. So maybe Vince is a little bit, upset that the war ended. It was the 7-day war? Is that all that one?
Give or take, but it ended very quickly after like the Super Bowl.
So, but that war ending in 7 days is why this war is still going, because what happened after we left in 7 days? That dude killed 100,000 people that were anywhere near a camera having the American flag, and they just shot him and threw him in the pit, and we had to go back and finish the job. So terrible, terrible time, and I didn't finish my story about being already enlisted in the Army. I was already talking to them about not going, because when I signed up in July of 90, I was told that I was going to be meeting with other delayed entry, they're called DEPers, delayed entry program guys. We were going to do jogging together, working out together. We were going to get all this stuff in together. And I never heard from my recruiter again after I signed in. So come January, a new recruiter's there. I don't even know. And he calls me down to the office. This is before the war started, and says, no. This was after the war ended. He calls me down to the office. He goes, "Hey, man, I hear you don't want to go." And I'm like, might want to. I said, "No, I'm not going." I go, "I was lied to." I go, "It's 9 months ago I signed up, and I don't even know where my recruiter is. I don't even know who you are." My recruiter got court-martialed for adultery. And so I told the guy I'm not going. Never saw that guy again until June, where another guy called me and says, "You ready to go?" And I thought it was the same guy. And I go, "I already told you I'm not going." He goes, like, "What do you mean?" Comes there, it's another different guy. And I had to go down there and get medically discharged from the Army. But the first guy that I talked about that called me down there, you know what he said to me?
What did he say?
He said, "Hey, man, you sure you want to not go? This is a war year. People won't know that you weren't there. They'll just know that you were enlisted in 91, and they were like, 'Wow, you were in the military during a war?'" I look right at him. I go, "You think I want to lie to people? Like, you think I want fake clout?" I go, "How about this? If we're at war in July, I'm going. But if we're not at war, I ain't going. Because the war is not the reason I don't want to go. I go, so you know what? If there's a war going on, I'll see it. And that's why he told them I had second thoughts and changed my mind. I didn't change my mind. He offended me by implying I didn't want to go because it was a war that had already ended. But
and the good old days of watching a war on CNN in '91 on my cable channel.
What was the guy's name? The Scud Stud.
I forgot that one.
Steve. He ended up becoming an anchor because of doing interviews in Iraq while shit was blowing up.
Yeah. So with that being said, we close on episode 199. Donnie, one more till the elusive 200. But again, we're not doing it next week, TW. No 200 next week. So I'll keep you on your toes, Donnie. I'll keep you on your toes. So TW, give out those socials so we can get out of here. And hopefully you can celebrate being drunk after the Michigan Wolverines win the NCAA title.
I went to opening day and didn't get drunk. I probably did get drunk.
You tortured like a woman. I thought you was drunk when you tortured a woman.
I was a few beers in. So it's funny in that video. I hear my friend Deanna go, "Are you embarrassed to take off your shirt?" And that's not what she said. We all had shirts made. That orange one I had underneath it, and the girl who was in the rack, her husband had a different shirt on. She asked him if he was embarrassed of his shirt, Bob. And I thought she said, "Are you embarrassed to take your shirt off?" And so I'm watching that video on Facebook going, yeah, I am. I look like I got a boiler under my shirt. I go, yeah, I'm embarrassed. And then Tony, she goes, no. She said Bob because he wasn't wearing the shirts we made. But anyways, you can find us by following the PWC Network at PWCNetwork at Podbean.com, as well as Hameen Media Group at Podbean. Our show's on X at PW Reflection. You can find Big Ray Hernandez all over every social media aspect at Big Ray Hernandez. And every Wednesday, he goes live on YouTube for the Next Level podcast for NXT's follow-up from the show the night before. You can find me on X and Instagram at TommyWonder19, Snapchat Number Wonder, Facebook.com/Tommy Wonder, my other X and at the Tommy Wonder. And I think I'm going to put the app back on my phone because TN Couponer and Josh, they all probably try to tweet me, and I haven't read Twitter since I deleted the app, but it's still there. So I'm going to go catch up. And then you can find Big Vito Brand and Big Vito and Noel at Big Vito Brand on TikTok. We don't stop.
And you can follow me on my Twitter at PWSOPRF, that's PWSOPROF, or tell a friend to subscribe to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/@Pro Wrestling Reflection. Follow me on the B-Sky at pwsoprf.bsky.social. And of course, catch me every Sunday live 11 a.m. Eastern with myself, Jimmy T, and the Vet as we delve into the wreckage of all the AEW stuff, Dynamite, Collision, pay-per-views, whatever the case may be. But we talk about AEW, one of the best AEW podcasts out there. So catch me on YouTube every Sunday at 11 a.m. And again, next week, I'll keep you on your toes, Reflection. I said keep you on your toes. I'm the Professor. That's Mr. Wonderful, the conservative liberal conservative, Iron Stomach One, the solo idiot, and the undisputed, undeniable Detroit Rock City Universal Heavyweight Champion of the World. Tommy Wonder saying good night. We'll see you next time here at the PWR Podcast at the Hameen Media Group at Podbean.com. Peace. Finally, you got one right.
Yeah. I was going to say,
Train, say your prayers, eat your vitamins, be true to yourself, true to your country, be a real American. Whew.